Hey everyone, it's Future Overlite, telling you that some of the audio might sound weird for the first 15 minutes or so, because Viztee messed up her recording settings. Anyway, here it comes!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Viztee podcast. This is a podcast where we introduce sci-fi shows to a fantasy nerd. I'm Viztee,
And I'm Overlite.
and today we're introducing Overlite to start Strange New Worlds again, and we're watching episode 5, Spock Amok, purely because I fucking love this episode, and I wanted to show it to Overlite, and we'll
And
see
also
how
it
that goes.
has body swaps in, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
body
that's gonna be
swaps.
LGBT, right?
Surely. Oh, space, the final frontier.
These are the voyages of an episode that doesn't do the intro until 15 minutes in.
It's got the longest cold open of any show.
Of any show?
No, not any show. There
I was about to say, I'll
was a
fucking
show.
fight
There was
you.
definitely a show that did the entire episode and then did the title at the end. That has definitely happened.
There's a bunch of shows that have done that. I know, I've seen some anime that have done that.
Um, Technically that's an anime. Thank you.
Yeah, what's the difference?
Anime. So, Overlite, body
Yeah.
swap.
Body
Oh,
swap!
it happened. We
Wow.
decided to watch another Strange New World, and we've done the body swap episode.
Yeah. It's one of the least interesting body swaps I've seen.
No, it's fun. It's like a cheeky, fun romp.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Oh no.
it was, they,
Oh, Overlite didn't.
I'm sorry,
I like
I
this
just,
episode because it has a really just silly A plot, B plot, and C plot. It's just fun. It's just
It
a
is
fun
very silly.
episode.
I got like, I don't know how long it was into the episode. Maybe it was when the intro rolled, maybe it was like 20 minutes, maybe it was less. When I was like, okay, so this is the body swap episode. There's going to be hijinks abound. There's going to be some really
Yeah,
like
but
funny,
Spock and
interesting
Supreme,
moments
they
that come
don't
out
like
of.
hijinks.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said hijinks because they said it so much.
Yeah.
It's flown around in my head. I was like, okay, it's gonna be really fun, interesting, and fun. They're gonna do fun things with the body swap, and then they just kind of they just did a little bit. They did a little bit, and that was kind of it. And it didn't. It would like I was watching the episode and I was like, wow, I have nothing to say. It's like they're kind of just, but they're being silly, having fun, having a good time. Some of the things were funny. A couple things made me laugh. I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is meant to be like the bit where we get real queer with it, and then
Oh yeah.
no,
Mm-hmm.
no, it just sort of wasn't
Oh.
until the last 10 seconds of the episode. We'll get there when we get there.
Jeez. Well, I mean, Overlight won't have absorbed any of this, but the episode starts with just a fucking incredible callback to a TOS episode, episode of the original Star Trek series where Spock has, I can't remember, I feel like,
I did get some of it.
I mean, there's the music, right? Everybody knows
the music. I was like, that's the music.
It's
I've
the
heard
Star Trek
other people reference that.
That's that one. It's a classic. It's from an episode of the original series where T'Pring forces Spock and Kirk to fight each other. Something along those lines. It's been so fucking long since I've seen the episode, but I'm pretty sure that was how it went. And
Well, Spock had it was like fuck or die or something, right?
what?
He had to. He was gonna die if he didn't fight someone because his Vulcan hormones were out of control. It was something like that, right? I
Yeah.
don't watch Star Trek, but I am like I know queer people, and so like this is one
Yeah,
of
I
those
think it.
like legacy things of like this episode was some of the
I
queerest
think because
shit you could
I'm
get that
like in
day.
my head I'm like I think I'm smushing two separate episodes together, so I'm confused about.
No, there's an episode where Kirk and Spock fight,
Yeah,
right? Because
but in my mind
it's
there's.
something to do with Spock's like hormones or whatever, and
Yeah,
it's
I
like he
remember
either has to
that.
fight someone or fuck someone, or I don't know, and he like
Yeah.
no one's gonna fuck him, but Kirk is like, I'll
Oh yeah,
fight
maybe it is the
him,
same episode because
and
then it's like, oh, go and have sex with your wife, and he goes back to Vulcan, and Pring's like, I want a divorce, and so that's the only solution is they have a fight. Um,
yeah,
yeah, maybe that's right. I feel like either I've mushed two episodes in my head, or, but anyway, it's a callback to the classic fighting. It's got the fucking the the music, the beautiful music. It's got the silly weapons that are great. I actually really love. They've
yeah.
got like a big hammery ball end, and then a like disc blade on the other end. They're just pretty cool.
Good, good, good
Good
Star
good
Trek
referencing.
stuff.
Oh, it was
Great, great,
nice.
great Star Trek things that I don't care about.
Oh,
Brilliant,
yeah,
wonderful
but you
stuff.
recognized the music and went, oh, "That's the music," so that's
That's
enough.
because I know
That's
people
enough.
who like Star Trek, who are nerds,
Yeah.
who I have heard go duh, 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 duh. Like I've heard other people do the jingle.
Well, there's
You
like
may be
a
surprised.
yeah.
I am friends with nerds.
Really?
I know. It's shocking.
I don't believe you.
It's the only reason I know it. That's Star Trek though. It's just like ambient noise in the background. You just absorb some of it without even realizing.
God, I love Star Trek. Anyway,
God, I
the
was
point of this fight is Spock's having a dream. He's having a little dreamy poo, and he's real sad. He's like his human half. He's worried that he's too human for T'Pring, and he's got to fight his Vulcan half, and oh, it's very sad. Poor Spock.
yeah, super sad. Super
What?
like half really sad about.
What? He's got a crisis of who he is. You know?
The only thing I have to say about this is to do with some annoyances I have with the existence of the Vulcans, but I'm sure that they are used as a lesson at some point, but I just don't like them.
What do you mean? They're
Well,
very racist.
they're incredibly racist.
Mm.
They are cultural purists to a horrifying degree.
Yeah. I mean, we got that this episode
Yeah.
later on, where there's
I was like,
there's
wow, I
a
hate
Vulcan
this.
who has foregone logic, and he's a horrible speciesist. He's not a very nice person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Vulcans, you know, they just love to just be a bit of an asshole. I don't even know why they chose to form the Federation alongside the humans
neither do I.
when they're just constantly such a
This
fucking
episode
asshole.
this episode made them look like modern day Nazis.
Oh jeez.
I'll be honest. The like hostility that basically all the other Vulcans seem to treat non-Vulcans was like bad. It looked bad. It wasn't a good look for the race as a whole. Or the
Yeah.
culture, I suppose. Not the race. Just the fucking culture. Christ. Do I want to talk about it?
Well, I mean,
I just
It's-
found
it's
it.
that.
Look, I just found it
I thought about
appalling
it.
to have a culture in a show that is so abhorrently so abhorrently racist, basically, that the idea of a person who is marred by even a single drop of a culture or race or whatever the fuck that isn't theirs causes all of them to shun that person. I'm like, what the fuck? This kind of sucks. like I get that they're like, oh, it's illogical, we're logical, etc. But like, if you think about in the real world, okay, how people are, all right, the number of people that are like fucking melting pots, or like, I'm just like, how many people exist that are they have facets of different like cultural experiences in them. Like, yeah, they can celebrate. I love celebrating lots of certain things from certain cultures. I don't know if I am a good example. I mean I sort of am, but like it's just if it looked I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. Made me uncomfortable to see like Star Trek have Vulcans, and the Vulcans are like, we are cultural purists
Yeah.
and also racial purists by extension. And like, yes, it's like we are logical and we don't like things that are illogical, but it's also like nobody can exist that is Vulcan and something else. You are Vulcan or you are not Vulcan. And there is not like you can't be Vulcan with the Vulcans and then go and be not Vulcan elsewhere. And the other, like, that's not allowed. And there was some stuff about like homogenization of cultures and like how like you lose your own identity. And like I was just like, I mean, sure, but like also, you go and you love the culture that you have and you celebrate that and that's awesome, and then you can also go elsewhere and enjoy other stuff too, and you can be a person
Well,
who
I
does all of
guess
those things. I'm mad at
that.
how just the like, I mean, I understand that they like brought it up as a point,
Yeah, that
but
was
it
kind of
just
the
made me
point of the episode.
uncomfortable. It just made me uncomfortable how I don't know if it really got addressed.
I think he did address it. They
Yeah?
talked about,
Did
yeah,
they talk about what happens to a culture that chooses to isolate itself in that way?
isolate yourself in what way?
Choose, like the Vulcans, the way this episode presented them made me think they were incredibly isolationist.
I guess in a way they are quite isolationist. No, I mean
But then they
the plot of
also
the episode addresses
they're
like,
also incredibly technologically advanced, and like are clearly like one of the important parts of hey, we got these cultural purists in that probably like given the opportunity maybe in for a bit of genocide if they felt like it.
I don't
But
think that's
they're
genocide
important
is
to the
not logical.
Federation. So right, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
I think the thing about the Falcons is they're all about logic, but deep down it's all their emotion.
It's all a load of bullshit.
They're using their emotions to uh you know, they're using their emotions to influence their logic, even if they won't admit that they are. Quite often.
Anyway, if you want to talk through the things that happen this episode, you can. I have almost nothing to say because things
Well,
just happened and there
well,
wasn't really anything.
What are we doing
to
in this
them.
podcast episode then, Overlite? What do you want to talk about? What are you?
I could
like
talk about
12 minutes in.
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah.
Gosh, she's got things going on. She's up in everybody's business. Oh my goodness.
She's not up in everybody's business.
She's up in Spock's business. She's
Yeah,
up in
Mhm.
that lesbian's business.
Yeah, like Ortega's. Yeah.
The lesbian is definitely going to be up in her business at some point.
Well,
Couldn't
not this
tell you
season.
when. Not this season. Okay, but like, okay. I was like, as soon as I saw Nurse Chapel with the lesbian, sorry, what's their name?
Ortega's is her last
Ortega's.
name.
As soon as I saw those two together, I was like, damn. There's something going on here. These two. And then, they start
But
talking
Ortega's
about Nurse
is her
Chapel's
wingman.
Yeah. Start talking about Nurse Chapel's like other relationships and the one night flings and stuff, and I was like, damn.
She
I guess it's just regular LGBT camaraderie, I entirely understandable. I've seen it many times, we all relate to each other very hard rather than it being actual but they clearly got along great. So I was like, okay, it's friendship. That's cool. And we didn't really get much more of that the rest of the episode. The rest of the episode, plot happened, but the plot was like self-contained plot, and I don't know how much I had to say in it. But then, right at the end, this is the last 10 seconds thing that I had to talk about. This podcast episode is going to be 20 minutes long total.
Christ.
Right at the end, oh my god. The fucking, So this whole episode, she goes through like a fun little like Nurse Chapel's meeting one of her flings, and the fling's like, oh, I want to make it serious, and then we just sort of slowly get updates on how she's in the process of letting him down.
Yeah, we only see him
as nicely as she can,
and she just immediately he starts getting really serious the one time we see him. She just she sees Spock and she's like, thank God I'm out. And she blows off, she's like, I gotta go check on my friend. And she just leaves.
But, the whole episode's got like, oh yeah, Nurse Chapel, she loves her flings, she doesn't want to get serious, she's not ready for like the time commitment, because you have to like actually commit, your own schedules, and you have to put energy into that, also that sort of stuff, which is entirely understandable. But then at the end, like, I can't remember what Ortega says, but the two of them are like having dinner together. I did really find it funny how the whole episode is. Yeah, I don't care about any of the Star Trek, by the way. I'm just here for this lesbian ship, which is clearly sailing. Like that points through the episode. They reiterate the point of like, oh, you have to make time for them. You have to commit to each other. You have to like, you have to like schedule things. You have to plan. You have to put them first. And like you go from like her being like, oh yeah, I mean, it's, working through the fling, and like she's talking to Ortegas about it, and they're like, yeah, working schedules around each other is so difficult to like have all this time together, even though you see Nurse Chapel and Ortegas together like a shitload of times throughout the episode. And at the end, I can't remember. I think there's something about like something they say something offhandedly about how Nurse Chapel's
she's like, oh, you should try telling people how you feel right out the bat. She's like, why would I do that? It'd have to be like a serious relationship. And then Ortega's like, yeah. She's like, it'd have to be with the right person. And then she gives her like a cheeky glance.
That look, okay? That look after that exchange, the way they look at each other, holy shit. Oh my god, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, okay, this ship is sailing, holy crap.
I don't want to crush Overlite ship, but in my mind, that's all the Spock Chapel ship, I'm fully aboard as much as I want lesbian Nurse Chapel, 100%. I also want Spock Nurse Chapel, 100%. So it's not 100%. And I'm all about the Spock Nurse. Do you mean look at how many times Nurse Chapel made room for Spock this episode? Spock needed help. She was
begrudgingly.
She dropped everything.
I'm going to admit that you are correct in how both Spock and Nurse Chapel were 100% playing romance with each other.
Yeah.
The way they were interacting, I was like, oh, they're both playing romance. But also, I still am going to point out the way Nurse Chapel and Ortegas, like, look, there was an expression on Nurse Chapel's face, and she was looking at Ortegas while it was happening, and I was like, what is going on?
No, love triangle time.
Oh, love square?
Love square.
Get the spreadsheet out.
Oh god, it's a love fucking... What are they called?
A love
spider diagram.
Ah!
Why is this ship so complicated?
Look, literally, I would watch this show, okay? Just for scraps of tension between Nurse Chapel and Ortegas. That's the only reason I would now watch this show. I watched... This was supposed to be like the fucking queer as shit episode, and it kind of just was. It was comedy for a little bit, and that was kind of it. And I was like, wow, that disappointed me quite a lot. And it did give us that thing at the end, which is why I'm like, heck, I would watch this show if we had more Chapel Ortegas moments.
I mean, I do want more gay shit, so I'm aboard.
Literally just the idea of a character who goes around having flings and then like keeping the relationship that they treasure the most like super close, but never actually like reaching out for it because they refuse to risk it. I was like, ah, God, I would look. Entire shows have been written on that idea. Okay, the idea of not wanting to,
Whoops.
to breach that gap because you're scared of what will happen to it. All right, it's like romance. Oh my God.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the rest of the show is Star Trek, and I really don't care about it, actually.
What do you mean? It was fun. It was nice and chill.
Yeah, they did a body swap. It was kind of boring. It took them 15 minutes. You know what? You want to know what happened in the first 15 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just check my notes because I wrote it down.
What happened in the first 15 minutes? Checks notes. Spock and T'Pring had some relationship issues.
Spock
the
and
ship
T'Pring,
went on
yep.
holiday.
And Nurse Chapel. Did we even get Nurse Chapel's thing? I don't think we did.
Yeah, I think that happened at the start.
It's literally... So the first 15 minutes are Spock and T'Pring are having relationship issues, the ship's on holiday, and Nurse Chapel is going for a fling. Roll Top Gear intro. Like, it's literally like, you could have done that in like 4 minutes, and they spent 15 minutes just kind of twiddling around, just being like, here are some scenes. Like, I get that you want to set up like Spock's Vulcan human insecurity, but like they just kind of just sat around and kind of talked a little bit. Didn't do that much. Spent a bunch of time just fucking doing nothing, you know? I was like, damn. We have 15 minutes for that intro. Could have done it in 5. What the heck?
But we didn't.
It was like 3 short sentences of what happened. You really, God.
I'm sad. I'm sad that Overlite didn't enjoy this. I think this is my favorite episode. I really enjoyed this episode.
I got bored. I actually got bored.
I love the body swap. I actually really love both the A plot, the B plot, and the C plot of this episode.
I did like the mystery of they were like negotiating with some aliens.
Yeah.
And I did like the mystery of it. Of like, oh, why is negotiations going so strangely? I don't understand. But I clocked as soon as, because they were like, and they had negotiations with one party and they got really mad at them. They had negotiations with the captain and they were very like civil and understood each other well. Then they had negotiations with Spock and they were suddenly very Vulcan. And I was like, I see what you're doing there. They're like emulating the other party, you know? They're like imitating their behavior and responding in kind. It's very...
When they said early on in the episode, they said, we're a very empathetic people. And so it's like, oh. And Pike clocked it. He figured it all out by the end. What a
smart guy.
But also, it's really funny because when they first come onto the ship and they meet Pike, Spock, Uhura, and Admiral... fuck, I forgot his name. The Admiral. They're like really shirty and really aggressive, and it's because they spent the trip from getting onto the ship to the ready room talking to, like, they were the only person they were interacting with being La'an, and she's just super closed off and sort of very...
I didn't think about that. That's pretty funny.
So they get there and they're just like, we only want to talk to Captain Pike. Shit. That's good.
There was also the, I don't know who they were, but like there was a yellow shirted spooky woman and then a red shirt woman.
Well, you like so one of them is Una. She's the like second in command of the ship, and the other one is La'an, who is the chief security officer.
Right. Yeah, they basically were just going around the ship like kind of bored because everyone's on holiday.
Yeah, everybody's got for shore leave, but they don't do... Their compulsive workers. They never take shore leave.
Yeah, and they were talking about like, oh, I can't wait to go. Oh, I can't wait to go check our inventory of phase blasters in the armory or something.
Yes.
I was watching that,
Oh.
and I was like, sorry, are you saying sorry?
No, carry on.
Sounded excited.
Yeah, cleaning the phaser power packs. Oh, that's good time.
I literally wrote in my notes. These two on the ship are Viztee, drooling over getting to visit the matter synthesizer. I was like, this is Viztee. This is Viztee on the Enterprise, just like, oh yeah, let's look at some of these.
God.
Check how many tachyon particles we've got in the vicinity.
Oh,
do a full engineering scan.
Full sensor sweep. We're gonna run some level 10 diagnostics. Oh, it's gonna be great. Oh, why would anybody go on shore leave when you can spend all your time running level 10 diagnostics on the main computer core?
Interestingly, yeah, their plot was the one I cared about the least.
Well, it was just the silliest C plot. It was
fucking
like
around.
It was like they got, when everybody was leaving, they were checking them out, and they found out by Mbenga accidentally mentioning it that they have a nickname where fun goes to die because they don't do anything to relax. And so they find some they found some ensigns trying to like hack a door in some spacesuits so they could go and so they were like, what the fuck? And so they interview these ensigns. They do good cop, bad cop. And they find out that the ensigns are doing Enterprise bingo. And they're like, yeah, we figured it out. You're doing Enterprise bingo. So we're going to have to reprimand you. No more shore leave for you. Go and spend the time with Chief Kyle, who's the transport chief. And they're like, no. And then once they leave, they're like, what the fuck is Enterprise bingo? And then it turns out it's like new crew, new ensigns get on the ship, and they fill in this bingo sheet of like rule breaking shit just to sort of, you know, fit in and have a bit of excitement, I guess. It's funny. It's a funny little C plot.
The only bit of that I enjoyed was the very end when they go out like on the Enterprise, like they're standing on the hull. And they put like a force field so that they don't just suffocate in space. But it's literally just the force field is all that stands between them and being ejected
wouldn't do that.
into.
That sounds like madness.
I know, I would have a spacesuit on. Jesus Christ!
You've been on the Enterprise before. Anything that ever happens, it's just, you know, so warning.
People getting sucked into space.
Main power core shutting down. Force field will shut down in 5 seconds. And you're like, oh, well, we're dead.
They're always the first. It's always, we've been struck by some unknown weapons, and now force fields are down. We're completely exposed.
Yeah, just
every
casually
episode.
chilling at Starbase 1 or whatever, and it's like, suddenly we're under attack. It's like, a tachyon wave. No!
Oh my god, it's a Klingon particle. Oh, the shields.
All
shields on the Enterprise. They're down.
What's a Klingon particle? Just
just
really honourable. One really honourable particle.
A security officer and your second in command just gets yonked into space. And that was the only bit I actually like enjoyed, because I was like, oh, that's very human. You know, to go and have like a cool, crazy experience out on the hull and just be like, you know, just go stand and sign the piece, the like oldest piece of the hull that has yet to be replaced. Which is called the Scorch, I think.
Yeah, the Scorch, because it's just such a fucked
put your
up
signature
piece.
on it. They just go out with a pen. They just write their signatures on. I was like, damn, that's actually pretty. And they've got all the other signatures of all the other people who've done it. I was like, yeah, that's cool. It's a cool human thing.
And then there's a solar sailor, which is like a ship that flies on the solar winds. And that like sailed past them, and they just, there's a moment of them sort of. It's probably the most fantastic view of that, because they only work in space, and generally, you're always something between you and seeing them, like the ship's windows or a spacesuit, and you're just stood there on the hull. The only thing between you and seeing this ship fly above you, this beautiful golden solar sail ship, is an invisible force field. So it's like the closest you're ever gonna get. It's nice.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty cool.
it was very cool moment for them to accidentally stumble into.
Right, that bit. Meanwhile, Nurse Chapel's having very romantic tension moments, and the Vulcans are being racist, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's so should we actually talk about the body swap at all? So
Yeah.
Spock's really worried that T'Pring doesn't like him because she thinks he's too human. And then he's like, "Oh, don't worry, T'Pring, I'll be home for dinner. I just gotta sort something out with Captain Pike." And she's like, they have this great conversation when she first arrives, like where I just love the sassy Vulcan conversations that they have with each other. It's great, and she's just like, I expected nothing less. Like just because she knows that he's gonna be doing some fucking Starfleet shit when she's supposed to be spending time together.
I weirdly wasn't that compelled by their conversations.
Oh, I like them because they're just so like. It's just I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun seeing two Vulcans talk with each other because they're just so like direct and they don't care about how their statements will emotionally impact the other person because it's about being logical, not being emotional. I like it.
I genuinely didn't think about that. Like, I'm going to be honest, at no point did I think about the emotional impact of their words on each other. I was like, oh yeah, they're communicating. It's like, yeah, they're explaining their thoughts to each other in a calm and measured manner.
Yeah.
Am I a Vulcan? Oh god.
Oh no, wait.
I think I'm a Vulcan.
It was nice. I like it. I like that. I want to talk like a Vulcan. I'm a Vulcan now.
Yeah, talk to me like you're a Vulcan.
Oh gosh, been put on the spot. It would be logical to give me more time to decide how I wish to talk like a Vulcan before instructing me to communicate like one.
That is agreeable.
Then it is agreed.
However, it would also be logical to continue with the podcast as we have a limited amount of time, and eventually one of us will get tired and the quality of said podcast will deteriorate.
Apologies, I spoke before you had finished your sentence before. I am in agreement.
Excellent. Let us proceed.
Oh god. So they have like basically, oh my god, Spock goes off, does a thing, doesn't time it as properly because the delegation of people come in to do the whole plot we talked about before. Whilst he said he'd be back for dinner and then he wasn't. Terrible fiance behavior. T'Pring, she's not very happy. So Spock goes off and has dinner on his own. And he talks to Nurse Chapel. And then Nurse Chapel gives him some great relationship advice about connecting with T'Pring. And Spock's like, the only way I could take this advice is by doing a Vulcan ritual to merge our catras together so that we feel each other completely. That's the only logical course of action here.
Do you know what this is?
Yeah?
This is the Vulcan equivalent of having children to save a marriage.
Kinda, yeah.
The only way we can fix this is by doubling down and like forcing, and they bring up how incredibly rare it is for Vulcans to do that. And I'm just like, yep, they were like, okay, well, you know, this relationship isn't going well, so the only course of action we have at this point
had an honest conversation, but
yeah,
no. They got to meld their minds together.
They were too afraid of how the other would respond.
Yeah,
very logical. Those Vulcans.
Very logical.
Very logical.
And it causes them to body swap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is then the best because then they spend a load of time trying to figure it out, doing lots of various humming and rituals and shit. And then Captain Pike's like, "Oh no, we need Spock for the negotiations. I'll only talk to Spock." And he comes into their room and they go to they're like, "Oh, Spock, you should answer the door." It's like to Pring, "You should answer the door as me, Spock." And then tell them to go away. And they have like the most hilariously awkward conversation with Captain Pike where they keep accidentally referring to them as like Spock keeps calling him Captain as T'Pring where he only ever calls him Chris, and T'Pring as Spock keeps calling him Chris, even though she should be calling him Captain. And then eventually they realize that it's just not going to work at all, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to have to tell him the truth." And so they tell him what happened, and then they go, it's my favorite thing, I gotta find it, I wrote it down. They go, so Spock goes, "I am Spock," into Pring's body, as Pring goes, "And I am T'Pring." And she goes, "Now that you know, you will be surely be able to tell the clear differences in our mannerisms." And it just absolutely killed me because they're just two incredibly Vulcan people talking in an incredibly Vulcan way, and it's just like, and Pike's like, sure."
I did enjoy that. It was cool seeing how they mimicked each other. That was actually really like interesting.
Yeah, I think they did a great job. I think especially as the episode goes on and you see like,
I think they were arguably more pronounced acting as the other, which was like, I guess, like, what are you gonna do, like, under it? Like, it's hard to get the right amount of emphasis, but I feel like Spock was more Spocky. T'Pring, the actor who plays T'Pring, pretending to play Spock in T'Pring's body, was more Spock-like than Spock. And vice versa, I feel. I feel like Spock in T'Pring's body, aka the actor who plays T'Pring, who was playing really Spock in T'Pring's body. Like, this is so confusing. It was really like,
I think
I was
think
like, wow, you could really see the
job.
Spock.
Yeah, I think they did a great. I think you could really see the T'Pring as well.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, I feel like they did overdo it a little bit.
I think they did a really good job.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then basically with the body swaps, they have to end up doing each other's jobs, which they're like, well, this is a good way to experience the other person. So Spock has to go and negotiate with the people, and T'Pring has to go as Spock to negotiate with the people with Captain Pike, and does not do a great job of it at all.
For me, it was
basically
annoyingly
completely drops Spock in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me, it was annoyingly the least gay direction that it could have taken. It's like, we've swapped bodies. Oh god, what are we gonna do?
Well, they're two Vulcans
you
who
have
swap
to go
bodies.
and have
they're
a
not going to
diplomatic
go
negotiation,
and they're not going to
go and
let's
negotiate
have
with
sex with each other in each other's bodies. Sadly, they're Vulcans. They're like, oh shit. The logic dictates that we must immediately find a way out of this situation.
I mean, yeah, but it's just I feel like they could have done more interesting things with it than.
Listen, Nurse Chapel says to Pring Spock, Spock to Pring. Which way around should we say it? Spock into Pring's body. Have you realized how weird it? I didn't realize how weird it must be being in your fiance's body. And Spock's like, I hadn't considered it. And then he like looks down. He's just like, it is weird.
I just.
You were wanting the lesbian romance to happen there.
I also was wanting the lesbian romance. Yes.
What if Nurse Chapel kisses Spock into Pring's body?
I was thinking that at some point. I was like, I wonder what would happen if that. Like, what even is that?
Oh god, it's got real weird.
I just like, I get body swap. They understand each other more, but also I was like, damn.
Well,
the thing is, just like, so
they did kind of
straight.
like Spock goes and does T'Pring's thing, and we kind of talked about before. She has to rehabilitate. She rehabilitates Vulcans who have deviated from the path of logic, and embrace their emotions. And she meets with this guy. Spock in T'Pring's body meets with this guy and takes Nurse Chapel with him for comfort, helpfulness. And the guy is incredibly racist towards Nurse Chapel, so Spock in T'Pring's body just punches him.
Knocks him
In
out.
defense, yeah. So
Brings him in.
honestly, what a boss. Very emotional of Spock, but also pop off, I guess.
Well, they get to the end of the episode, and Spock tells T'Pring that
yeah,
he actually
I
just
love that
punched.
as well.
He actually just punched the guy instead of negotiating, and she's just like, "That is logical."
Yeah, she's like, having met him, that is logical.
Yeah. I did.
It's like,
That
yep.
bit made me laugh. Okay, that bit did get me. I'm just like, okay, you did a body swap, and at no point was there any like recognition of the like any kind of issue. Perhaps it's because the world of the Federation and Star Trek and Starfleet is like all orientations and gender issues are oatmeal. Like they're all just the same.
Everybody's
They're all
everybody's
paste to
gay,
each
or
other.
they're not.
Everybody
who
is
cares?
fine.
But everybody
I'm
is.
like-
Nobody's like, I
I'm like,
can't
damn.
believe you're gay. It's like, yeah, do whatever, pop off.
It doesn't feel like there was any recognition of any of the issues that the other like has on, whether it's like a physical or talking to other people, or like, it was just like they did each other's jobs and that was it. I get like bottle episodes and stuff, but also they fucked around for 15 minutes at the start. They could have spent more time like
Yeah, I mean that's fair. We could have had more stuff.
Yeah.
But they did.
I was disappointed in that.
Yeah.
Also, I don't really think there was any like. Where I think like the kind of body swap thing really thrives is when you start going like, hey, you swapped bodies and you learned something about the other, and the thing that you learned about the other was to do with how they go about their business or the struggles they have, and you've taken that knowledge and you've applied it to your own life, and you've been able to change yourself in a way for the better by realizing this thing that you couldn't have realized if you hadn't body swapped, and they don't do that.
Well, I guess on one side, well, they kind of do. T'Pring realizes that Spock is like she realizes that Spock's dedicated to the Federation, and like Spock himself is like the kind of embodies the ideals of Starfleet, and has like great respect from Pike. And that's like why Pike always relies on him and needs him there. She's been very hard on him for sort of like spending too much time doing Federation shit when he should be spending time with her. And then she sort of comes to see that it's different and learns from that. And Spock doesn't really have the same, and he kind of learns that okay, so Spock's journey isn't really about the body swap as much. He basically has another conversation with Nurse Chapel, and Nurse Chapel's like, why don't you just actually have a conversation? And then he solves his problem by actually having a conversation instead of body swapping.
Crazy that.
I know. Oh my gosh.
I just think they understand each other better at the end, but they don't like learn anything about themselves.
I guess.
Like they're just like, our relationship is healed because we did this.
Is it healed though?
I don't really know how much of that, like,
or is it just healed
maybe it's
for
just
now?
not healed. Maybe it's just like a band-aid. Maybe
Temporary
it's just
heal.
like having a child.
What?
Boom! Got him! I called it from the start.
What?
It's like having a child is not a real solution. It's just forces you into certain circumstances. The same way that doing the brain sharing was just like not a real solution for their problems, even if it did help them understand each other. The issue I mean, the issue is, if you want me to really care about the plot, the issue is still with the fact that T'Pring doesn't want Spock to be as married to his work as he is, and Spock will always be that married to his work, and
Yeah.
that's who they are. And perhaps instead of going, oh, we understand each other, and can say that, you know, because we understand each other's perspectives, then we can work it out. It's like, no, Spock wants to work that much, and T'Pring doesn't want him to be like that. And thusly, I would conclude they probably are incompatible for each other, like relationship or otherwise.
Yeah. Plus, Spock loves Nurse Chapel, so...
Who gives a shit about that?
Well, I care.
Straight
I
people
care.
in Star Trek.
I care.
Sorry,
Listen,
that's-
we get...
Sorry, I'd like to formally apologize for what I said just now.
Jeez!
Very
Clearly,
dismissive.
Overlite hasn't watched the latest
just-
seasons of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh yeah, but like,
Or even the first season of Star Trek... Well, we didn't get to the part of Star Trek Discovery with the queer people in it.
I like watching the gays, just
Is
like
what I'm
I'm
saying.
sure straight folks don't like watching.
What?
Oh, well, just like I'm sure straight folks like
Watching
the
straight
straights.
romances. Yeah.
Yes.
God,
Probably.
I love the straight ship.
I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't assume that all our experiences are the same. That's probably a thorny path to go down.
Anyway, listen. I fucking love this episode. Overlite.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
It was the weakest. It was the weakest sort of showing of body swapping in media that I've seen.
I don't agree with that.
It
Overlight's views do not represent the views of the View Screen podcast.
no, neither do Viztee.
Shit the bed.
Whose opinions are view screens then?
Oh shit, I guess they're yours. I'm pointing at the
Okay,
camera
my
right now.
opinions
No,
do
not you,
reflect
not you, the listener.
Oh, yes, we agree with you, listener. Whatever you're
whatever
thinking
you,
right
whatever
now.
you think about the episode, that is what we think.
Yeah.
So if
well, that's
you-
what
if you
view screen
comment-
thinks, but that's not.
yeah,
what we
sorry,
think.
yeah, that's not what I think. That's what View Screen thinks. So if you
Yeah.
know, if you comment, then that's our opinion.
Yeah. So there were like 5 moments of comedy in 51 minutes, maybe. A lot of wasted time.
That's
a pretty
that's
weak body
comedy
swap
per 10
episode.
minutes. That's good value.
And well, 5 might have been generous. I wasn't keeping track.
Good value. Premium.
Not for like if it's a show with comedy
Listen,
in.
I just
then
want more Nurse
bad.
Chapel, okay? Give
Yeah,
me,
I want more gay Nurse
Give
Chapel.
me more Nurse Chapel in my life.
Yeah, so basically, came in with probably expectations higher than they should have been because it's Star Trek. Should have lowered those
Because
expectations.
I hyped it up. I was like,
Yeah,
body
and then
swap,
it was-
woo!
Woo! Body swap, yeah! Somebody say body swap! Oh my
Woo!
god! Oh wait, it's thoroughly disappointing. My bad.
I'm shaking and crying. And on that terrible, terrible bombshell, thank you for listening to the View Screen podcast.
I can never watch Star Trek again.
Oh, God. Anyway, next week we're going to watch Doctor Who, because that's what we said we were going to do last week.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I don't know what we're going to watch in Doctor Who, but we'll pick something. And we'll see you all next time. Follow us on Twitter, View Screencast.